My next guest penned her first story in the second grade. Handwritten on wide-ruled paper, she kept writing fiction throughout high school and college, but worried that a career in writing wouldn't be practical. So she decided to major in history instead, which wasn't very practical either. But she did learn a lot about ancient Chinese dynasties. But the siren call of writing a book never went away. She started seriously pursuing publication after college, and after a lot of rejection letters, her first novel, The Only Thing to Fear, sold to Scholastic in 2013. She is now the author of The Great Destroyers, Live in Infamy, and The Darkest Hour, as well as the co-editor of the Hungry Hearts anthology and the co-author of Great or Nothing, a little woman retelling set during World War II. In addition to being an award-winning young adult author, she is currently the executive director at a nonprofit called We Need Diverse Books, a platform dedicated to promoting diversity and inclusivity in literature, spotlighting children's and young adult books that feature characters, cultures, and experiences from unrepresented backgrounds. Their mission is to advocate for diverse voices and stories within the literary world. Please welcome to Unban Coolies, Caroline Richmond.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Can you provide an overview of your journey and background that led to you becoming a part of We Need Diverse Books?
Sure. It started really when I was a kid. I was a huge bookworm. My dad would take my brother, sister, and me to the library and bookstore really frequently, and he would just let us browse the store. And that just really whet my palate for storytelling. I loved reading. And so eventually that grew into wanting to write my own stories. So I've kind of dabbled in writing ever since I was a kid. But growing up, I rarely ever saw myself or my family in the books that I read. A few characters that come to mind are Claudia Kishi from the Babysitters Club. Even though she was quite different from me, she was Japanese American, I was Chinese American. She was very artsy, not the best at school. I was quite different, but she was an Asian face. And just so having that on the page just really piqued my interest. But I didn't really see myself in a book until my freshman year of high school, when my English teacher assigned for our class to read The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. And that book it was one of those moments I'll never forget in my whole life. Reading those first few chapters, seeing my mother's and my grandmother's stories being told on the page. Obviously, there were some differences, but there were so many echoes there. And to see that book celebrated by all sorts of readers really made me proud of who I was. And it showed me what a book could be, that books can be windows into other perspectives and cultures. And for most of my life growing up, I read pretty much window books. But books can also be mirrors, meaning that they reflect you, your culture, your identity, your family. And I didn't really have that until I was a 14-year-old freshman in high school. And the impression that had on me really carried over into my adult life when I started pursuing writing more seriously. I really wanted to write books with characters that looked like me, that looked like my family members. I didn't want my own kids to grow up having to search for themselves in books. And so it just so happened when my daughter was a newborn, 2 months old, I was scrolling through Twitter one day and there was a hashtag. It was the We Need Diverse hashtag back in 2014. And I saw all these people sharing the hashtag and also saying how much we need diverse books because of, A, B, and C. They would bring their personal experiences into the post. And I knew that I wanted to get involved. So I started at WNDB as a volunteer, and I joined as a staff member in 2017 and have just kind of been around and have been able to, take on the role of executive director. And I also I continue to write books on the side. So It's been a really lovely parallel having my day job coincide with my passion for writing, because both are needed. We need stories. I hope to be able to continue telling stories with diverse characters, but there needs to be a wider movement to get these books into the hands of readers everywhere.
When books are banned, it makes me want to seek it out. A book on my list to read is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. It tells the story of Amir, a young boy from Kabul, Afghanistan, and his complicated relationship with his childhood friend Hassan. The novel explores themes of relationship, betrayal, redemption, guilt, and the lasting impacts of personal and political turmoil. Through Amir's journey, the book delves into the complexities of family, loyalty, and the quest for forgiveness in the face of past mistakes. Unfortunately, this book is banned for its mature theme and violence. Is there a banned book that you're currently reading or have read?
But I would go back to the book I mentioned earlier, which is The Joy Luck Club. It has been banned in various places since its publication back in I think it was published in the early 90s. Because of mature content, that sort of thing. But it remains one of the most powerful books I've ever read. I've heard a lot of Asian American writers say how that is the book that made them realize that we can tell our own stories too, that there is a market for it. And I still revisit the book at least once a year. The prose is so strong. The way Amy Tan's writing just pulls you in. It wasn't an easy book to write either, because it's essentially a bunch of short stories and each one is narrated by a different character. It's like 4 pairings of daughters and mothers, and they're all talking about how they grew up, the heartbreak they've been through, why they are the way they are. It deals a lot with immigration. All the mothers are from China. All the daughters have been raised in the US. So there's a lot of dissonance there, misunderstanding. But it's a book that's helped me to better understand my own mother's and grandmother's generations, and also the immigrant experience here in the US. It is truly a timeless classic, and I encourage everyone to read it. It's really sad that it's banned, because it changed my life, and I know it changed other people's lives in just showing what American literature can be.
How do We Need Diverse books contribute to the promotion of diversity and inclusivity in literature, particularly in the realm of children's and young adult books?
So We Need Diverse Books is unique in that we work across the entire book-making process. So we support the diverse creators who write and illustrate books. We also support diverse publishing professionals, the people who acquire these titles, who edit them, produce them, market them. And we also support the educators and the students who want these books and who recognize the power of a diverse book. We realize that if you want kids and readers to have these books in their hands, to be able to buy them from bookstores, to be able to have them in the shelves of their libraries, you need to affect the entire book making process. It can't just be one. And hey, there are amazing groups out there who do focus on one and do those really well, but we just want to do things a little different. So we're trying to affect change across the whole circle of publishing. And so that's a big community, especially because the educators and students we serve are all spread out across the country. But we've really been able to see the fruits of that too. A lot of the writers we've supported are now published. Our internship grant recipients, so these are college students, grad students who are trying to get a foot into the publishing industry. We support them through grants. We're seeing a lot of them being able to find full-time employment in publishing. And we've been able to give away tens of thousands of diverse titles across the country. So that's kind of a snapshot of what we do here at WNDB.
Can you highlight some notable successes or milestones that your nonprofit has achieved since its inception?
I realized a really cool thing in that Various writers we've supported through grants, through mentorships, have won some of the most prestigious awards when it comes to children's literature. So the writers we've served have won the Newbery, the Prince, the Morris, the Pura Belpré, and the American Indian Youth Literature Awards. So it has been incredibly rewarding to see these voices not only go through our programs, but now achieving like incredible echelons of success and having their books read, not just nationwide, but internationally. And we're definitely trying our best as well to make an impact on educators who are facing book bans. So we launched an initiative last year called Books Save Lives, because that is what we do here. We truly believe that diverse books can, change people, transform them. It can even save lives. And a lot of the books getting targeted are diverse. They have queer characters or characters of color. We know that these books are needed now more than ever. So we're doing our best via book giveaways, author visits, and grants to support the teachers and librarians who are at the forefront of this battle.
Could you share some strategies or approaches that diversebooks.org employs to ensure that a wide range of diverse voices are featured and supported?
Yeah, so if people are interested, you're welcome to read our full definition of diversity on our website, diversebooks.org. We recognize all diverse experience. So that includes the LGBTQIA plus community, Native peoples, people of color, gender diversity, people with disabilities, and ethnic, cultural, and religious minorities. So we have a very broad tent of the creators, publishing professionals that we serve. And that is one way for us to be as inclusive as possible. And so we really do try to do a lot of outreach within various communities to make sure that people are aware that we are giving away grants or mentorships, giving away free books. It is important for us that we're reaching people who are diverse, but also diversity is needed everywhere. We also give grants, for instance, to educators maybe in more homogenous areas who recognize that a book might be the only opportunity for some of their students to engage with a different cultural experience. So we really do serve everyone. Our definition of diversity itself does help just align with what we are doing when it comes to grants and mentoring. We really do try to serve as many people as possible.
As the executive director, what are some challenges you encounter in the pursuit of diversity and inclusion in the literary world? And how does We Need Diverse Books address these challenges?
There's a few items that come to mind. The first is just need. Sometimes we will open to a grant for creators or for educators or mentorships for diverse creators. And there's just so many amazingly talented people out there, and we just don't have enough grants. We don't have enough mentors to go around. So that is one issue that we always face, is that there's usually more talent and more need than we have the resources for. But we have been able to grow and expand a lot since we started as a hashtag of all things in 2014. So as we continue to grow, and to expand our funding base, we'll be able to serve more people as well. I think there are other issues intrinsic to publishing that we are having to deal with. I mentioned our internship grants, which helps get diverse college students, grad students into publishing once they're done with their education. But what we've noticed is that when people hit the mid-career years, so 3, 4, 5 years in a job, they do experience a lot of burnout. And because pay has been historically low in publishing, a lot of people end up changing industries because they're like, hey, I can only live off of passion for so long. I want a retirement account. I want to be able to afford a house. I want to be able to move somewhere outside of a major metropolitan hub. So that is an issue that we are trying to address. How do we retain people? We're able to get these people in, but how do we help them stay in publishing? Because we really want people to continue rising up through the ranks so they are in higher and higher levels of decision making within the industry. I think the most pressing issue we're facing right now are the book bans. I mean, book bans have always been around. There's always like someone who's pointing out why a book shouldn't be on a shelf, but it's a true movement right now. There are laws and regulations getting passed all around the country. It's affecting thousands of authors and diverse titles. And there are schools that have empty shelves in the classroom because teachers are rightly afraid of what they can offer their students. And so they end up just clearing a shelf because the barriers of getting those books onto the shelf are just so great and they could lose their jobs. So it really is a crisis we're facing right now.
Lastly, how can individual educators and readers get involved with your organization and support its mission? Are there ways for volunteers to contribute to their organization's efforts?
Definitely. I think there are a ton of ways for people to support We Need Diverse Books and just our overall goals. The easiest way is to please read diverse books. Please tell your friends about them. Review the books. They do help. Request them at your library. That's completely free. If you are able, buy the books. Buy a copy for your friends. I mean, that boosts an author's sales. Just spreading the word is really a fantastic way and an easy way to support diverse creators who really need that support right now in the midst of book bans and AI and all these things that are changing the industry as we know it. You can also get involved with WNDB. We do utilize volunteers throughout the year to, help us with reading grant applications or other things like that. We need, reader judges to help us out with those different programs that crop up throughout the year. We also do an annual awards ceremony in DC where we utilize volunteer help. You get a front row seat to hear some amazing diverse authors speak. If people especially want to get involved with fighting book bans, we have resources on our website. We have 3 different ones for 3 different communities. So one is specifically for teachers, one is for librarians, and one is for parents and community members. It's a really comprehensive but easy to digest guide of like what you can do at your local level. Because we really do need people locally to get involved, to go to your school board meetings, to speak out if your meeting has public comment and in support of diverse books, because the other side can be very, very loud, but they're in the minority. The majority of Americans do not support book bans. So we need more of a majority to speak out and defend why diverse books are important. And then our guides kind of just go through all of those steps that you can take. There's a lot of things you can do. We even have a separate guide on how you can start your own grassroots organization, if that's something you're interested in. That would take a bit more buy-in from a person and the people in their communities, but those have real and tangible effects. We work quite frequently with a group in Florida called the Florida Freedom to Read Project. It is a totally grassroots organization started by 2 moms who saw what was going on in their local school district and said, no, I don't want that here. I don't want my children's bookshelves to be affected by what other parents think what they should or should not read. And now they're getting, national press attention and they are making a difference. And so we need more people like that who have some time to give and are able to kind of rally the troops and their own communities to come together and fight back.
Caroline, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude for your unwavering commitment to ensure that diverse books reach a wide audience. It has been enlightening to learn about you and your books. Your advocacy for making diverse literature accessible to all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was lovely chatting with you.
I appreciate that. People like you inspire me so much.
Oh, well, I'm similarly inspired at what you're doing and, all the amazing people you've had on your podcast. So thank you for the invitation. It was great.
Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.